Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 107 of the Whitey and Will Sports Show. Today is Sunday, March 24th, 2024, and we are back. We took a week off last week. The boys' basketball season came to a close, and so after Teutopolis fell in their super sectional game, we decided we'd take a week to not do anything. But in the meantime, we have come up with several things to talk about, so we figured we better get a show out there. Obviously, I think Mike's biggest goal today is that he wants to gloat about his brackets a little bit. He's done a pretty good job with his NCAA men's basketball tournament brackets, and so we'll certainly spend some time talking about that. But just in terms of high school sports, we'll touch on some. I can't promise you that I can speak real intelligently about baseball, softball, and track just yet, but there's been some early season stuff go on, and we'll hit on a few things with that, and then also. Um, we have to since we last talked, Effingham High School made the decision that they were going to go another direction with their boys basketball program, so they're going to be looking for a new coach. We'll hit on that, and then IHSA kind of dropped a little bit of a bombshell that they're going to move forward. It sounds like a shot clock in high school basketball in Illinois is a sure thing, and I know Mike and I have opinions about that, and so we'll jump into that a little bit. But I don't really have a plan here, Mike. But I'll start with Effingham. As far as their boys basketball situation goes, it was obviously, uh, it's been a tough couple of years for Effingham's boys basketball program. Uh, they have they won 3 games this past year. They went 11-20 the year before, and they just made the decision that they were going to look for somebody to replace Obi Farmer. It's a tough one. In high school basketball, there's always it's not just about wins and losses. It never is. And schools have to make those decisions for a lot of other reasons, and some of those we're not privy to. Some of them we might be, but not necessarily in a position to talk about them too much. It's just it's one of those things. Effingham is going to try and find somebody that fits their hopes for the program a little bit more. I forget the exact wording that Andy Johnson used in his statement that went out in the media, but they just felt like maybe they needed a change of leadership there, and so it's going to be somebody else, and you hope that whoever it is, you always hope for success with your local schools, and Effingham has been here before in the past where they've gone through a tough stretch and been able to turn things around, and you hope that whoever comes in will be able to enjoy some of that success, but we'll wait and see. There's not much more to say about it at this point because we have no idea.
No, it's just one thing I want to say. I heard that there was some experts on social media blaming Vince Rohr and Mac Thompson for this.
They're
They're
not
not
even there
even
yet.
employed. They're not even employed by the district yet. So,
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's going to be interesting. I mean, the biggest thing is getting this program, and I know Andy Johnson's kind of gone out and emphasized the fifth and sixth grade thing on both sides, boys and girls side, which should only help with you know getting kids back involved again. That's going to be the key. So we'll
Yeah.
have to see
The social
see what
media
happens.
aspect, the social media aspect is rarely positive on these kind of
Oh,
things.
no, I agree 100%, and that's the thing. It's just I didn't go down a rabbit hole, but
No.
it sometimes it's laughable. Um, because sometimes you'll have people who don't know if there's air or feathers in the ball,
Yeah,
and then
that's
they're speaking gospel.
it's not to sound like too much of an old man here, but these days it's easier than ever to just say whatever's on your mind, whether you have anything, whether
Right.
whether that's based on anything you actually know or any truth that exists, and
Yep.
then people can read that and run with it. It's it's not always a positive situation, and I think especially in deals like this where there's obviously going to be a lot of different feelings flying around, a lot of different opinions, and a lot of different viewpoints. People are going to shoot from the hip, and most of the time, it's going to probably only tell the story they want to be told. So,
We've been through, all three of the Holy Trinity have had changes of leadership in the last 20 years. And, not always popular, and it just happens. That's part of it. So,
yeah.
you know, move on. We'll see what happens, and see who ends up taking the position.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting because I mean, there's definitely some challenges that will exist there. I mean, whoever ends up there is going to have some work to do, right? And some people, when they're looking for a job to apply for, they're not looking to take over a 3-win program and start building from that point. They want to walk into a more ready-made situation. And so,
Yeah, and that's what you'll see. I mean, sometimes you'll have people from all over the state saying, just applying to apply. So, I mean, it's just going to be, you have to see. You got to see. I think one of the biggest factors is try to maximize um, potential of kids you have in the buildings.
sure.
That's going to be the biggest. That's. I think that's probably hurdle one. Um, is you know, getting buy-in from a lot of people to get the program going.
Right. So speaking of change, there was a story that popped up in the media week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I can't remember exactly when. IHSA, I mean, they intend to have schools statewide using a shot clock by the 26-27 season, to
Yep.
according to an interview done by one of their higher ups. And so, we've kind of talked about this as an idea before, and that I don't think either one of us necessarily thought it was a thing that needed to happen. But I guess that's not the opinion of the decision makers.
Well, there's aspects about it, Whitey. I mean, and again, I speak from from the coaching side. I mean, I was always a very up tempo guy, both ends of the floor. I mean, we used to practice with a shot
Yeah.
clock just
Hmm.
because I wanted that mindset and that tempo from my kids. That's not the problem. The problem is going to be number one, the reason they're not doing this till 26, 27. You don't have the wherewithal for schools to go out and purchase. I think your two Nevco and I forget the other company who are the two biggest suppliers of scoreboard and scoreboard components. I've talked to a few ADs and they're like, they're going to be lucky to fill these orders by 26, 27. Okay.
Yeah.
That's problem one. Um, problem two, and we just had our wrap up meeting for the Christmas tournament, actually this past Monday. And we will probably apply to be able to use it at our tournament because Effingham has them installed in both their big gym and their smaller gym. Okay. And my understanding from talking to T-Town AD Derek Zerusen, T-Town plans on getting theirs installed this summer. If that's the case and we have it everywhere, we will probably apply to be able to use it at the Christmas tournament. With
Yep.
that being said, we still have to figure out who's going to run the clock to
Yes.
run the thing because
It's a whole nother
I
person.
guess Newton girls did it this year, and I talked to some coaches um, who played there and some administrators. And I guess what Newton did, they had some officials come in and run the shot clock because they had a general concept of what the rule and how everything works. If you just have, Joe who runs the feed store come in and work it, it's going to be a shit show. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem, in my opinion, is going to come. I think what we may end up doing for the Christmas tournament, we've discussed it, is paying like some guys who do primarily fresh soft JV type games, officials, pay them the same rate we're paying our bench officials to run it because it's not going to be an easy thing to do. And now
No.
the other part is you look at every scorer's table to any game you go to, you've got the guy running the clock, you've got the guy on the book, you've got the visiting team book, you've got the person running the foul panel. I mean, pretty soon there's no room up there. And
Well,
we were talking about it. That may be a market to design scoring tables because right now there's going to be a lot of people needing to redo what they currently have.
well, and paying for it is just another aspect. I mean, some schools it's not going to be a problem, but there's a lot of smaller places where you start telling them that you're going to have to invest. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but I know it's in the thousands of dollars to get this put in, and then the added expense on a nightly basis for every one of your home games
Yep,
to
you got another
pay another
bench
person to
person.
do it. I mean, I am quite certain that IHSA is probably not offering up any solutions on how to get that done. And so,
Well, and that's part of the issue. But with that being said, it's just I think it's a great concept. And again, I'm okay with it if you have the logistics to run it. And
yeah,
that's where I think the problem's going to be
yes,
because you're going to have, are you going to do it at fresh soft games? Generally, you have parents running this stuff. How many times over the greatest basketball tournament in the world's been going on now for 4 days? How many times have they had to go to the clock
yes.
or go to the camera to see if the ball hit the rim and what the reset should be?
Well, and speaking, you mentioned parents, running stuff at some of the lower level games, and just speaking of parents, um, I there's a lot of people who go to games and don't know how anything works, but they know that they're pissed off about it, and those people, I cannot wait to see the way people act when you have some sort of an issue with this in
Mm-hmm.
in a close game in the fourth quarter, okay? And people doing it for the first time.
Yep.
It's I mean, I guess any change is like that. There's always going to be growing pains. I just I guess I don't know why it's so important for it to happen. Like I have seen people say, "Well, good, this will take away those boring teams. This isn't good for those boring teams that run a lot of clock." And I'm just saying that's a strategy, okay? Like some schools just don't, they have to play that
See,
way.
the biggest thing I see this leading to is a lot of bad shots.
Well, and that's, yeah. I mean, okay, so first of all, you may not find it entertaining, but it certainly takes a certain skill set and ability to be able to run a 45-second possession if you have to. Okay. Let's let's say that first of all. That's You might find it boring, but it doesn't make it easy, and it doesn't mean that those aren't skilled basketball players out there doing it. Okay, now I saw somebody make a great point. Like, look at most of these high school games, and when you have to run an end of quarter possession to get one shot right before the buzzer, how good is the shot usually?
Probably 60% of the time, if they get it off, it's not a good
And now you're going to do that not 3 or 4 times a game, you're going to do it dozens of times a game.
one. Yeah,
I don't think it guarantees that you're getting a better brand of high
no,
scoring basketball. And it
I agree.
also, I think it probably, what you're going to see is the games that were already a little bit mismatched are going to turn into ungodly blowouts sometimes. I think
Yeah, you can.
that's kind of the way I see it. It's going to just help as far as athletes, the haves and the have-nots. It's going to widen the gap between them a little bit. That's kind of my prediction anyway. I could be wrong. I've been wrong once or twice before, but I just don't know who this. I don't know who this is for exactly because yeah, some kids go on and play college basketball and it'll help them prepare for that. But you know what? Most of these kids don't. They don't, and
Yeah,
it
play. I mean, yeah, I don't know. And as we talk, Whitey, pre-show, you talked about the ACC. They have another team in the Sweet 16 now because Baylor was at the line, missed 2 free throws to tie the game, and then Clemson went down and hit two, and then Baylor missed, and now Clemson's going to be up 6 inside 20 seconds.
Well, I think we've said our piece on the shot clock. We can certainly move on to Mike gloating about his good brackets if we want to. You mentioned ACC. I when I was filling mine out, I didn't have a lot of love for the conference this year. I didn't feel like it was in a great place as far as being ready to compete in this tournament. And so,
Well, I didn't. I tried to not fall in love with the Big Ten. Well, let's here we'll just do this, Whitey.
okay,
In the first round, you were 21. You got 21 games right, so you were 21-11.
not great.
I was 26-6.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I missed Yale beating Auburn, Duquesne beating BYU, Washington State beating Drake. I had Sanford over Kansas, and after seeing the replays of that botched call, I think maybe I should call uh, ESPN's brackets and get that changed. And then for some reason, I picked Kentucky to be in the championship game, by the way, which was bad. I didn't know the Oakland Raiders were still a team, but I guess they are. And then Nebraska. Come on, you look so good for a game and a half against Indiana and Kentucky, and then you come out and play Texas A&M and you can't throw it. You can't fall out of a boat and hit water.
Yeah, I will cop to having Kentucky, and I had them getting to.
I think you had them in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I had them in the Elite Eight, and I had them losing to Colorado, so that's not going to work out for me either because Marquette won that game today.
Yeah.
I didn't. I wasn't real sold on Marquette either.
So, but Whitey, here's the kicker on today through the first 11 games, not counting this Baylor game.
Mhm.
Okay. Through the first 11 games today, yesterday and today, round two, I got 10 out of 11. And obviously, my only loss is Kentucky, who, you know,
Wasn't playing.
wasn't playing. I
Yeah,
think you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So far, you are 7 out of 10.
I
And
want our
both of us had Baylor, by the way. So we're now, I'm 10-12, and you're 7-12.
I
So I
want
got to,
our viewers to know that I have never actually seen Mike's bracket with my two eyes. So
okay.
I'm just he's on the honor system here. But
Well, boy, I'm an honorable person, Whitey. Here's the best part. I was on I entered one bracket, this
Yeah.
current bracket on ESPN
Uh-huh.
at about 10 o'clock on Thursday morning. Ah, shits and giggles. My percentile is 99.9. Now, here's the part where you're saying, oh, you're not so good, Wills. I'm in 24,000th place out of over what, 18 to 20 million entries.
Yeah.
But now not getting, I don't know what this Baylor does for me. I don't know. I haven't obviously checked it but I don't think I've ever had a bracket do this well. And here's the thing, this is probably the least college basketball I've watched. Now, I do have Grand Canyon State beating Alabama today. I'm going to need that one.
Yeah, and Alabama's up 8 at halftime, by the way.
All right. It's early.
Yeah, I
But
mean, you and I both had Arizona in the Final Four. Is that right?
I have UConn winning it all. I have UConn, Arizona. I had Kentucky and Creighton.
I had Houston and Creighton on in the Final Four.
Yeah.
So
Now I will say this: I watched first half of the Longwood Houston game because I have a pool I'm in, a point
mhm.
spread pool, which I really love because there's no skill involved.
Yeah, it's
So
just
it's kind
pure
of fits my alley.
riches.
I wasn't sure Longwood was going to score. Houston's half court defense, really their whole defense, I was so impressed by. And this is hard to say because I've really never been a big Kelvin Sampson fan. But my God, Whitey, I love the way they kind of were doing a lot of scrambling and trapping in the half court. I mean, everywhere and rotating and I was like, oh my, that is awesome.
I will say that in a day and age when it's become more realistic than ever for a 16 or a 15 seed to actually get a win,
Yeah.
didn't have anybody get particularly close this year. All the one
No.
seeds really took care of their business pretty well, and Purdue looked great today. As much as I think, as much as I am loath to admit it, because I'm not sold. I don't believe in Purdue at all. I don't believe in Zach Edey that much. Everybody gets on TV and talks about what a skilled big man he is and all these things he does well, and he's fine. I don't, but I saw a video of him like doing a drill where he was banking in 4-footers, and they were talking about how skilled an offensive player he is, and I'm like, well, he's 7'4", like of course he's going to be good around the basket. If he's not good around the basket, then he wouldn't even be playing. Like he better be good around the basket for the size he is. But I just
Yeah.
I'm not real sold on Purdue. They look. I mean, they had a great game today.
Well, the talk was tournament of parity. And the difference is, to be honest, ones, twos, and threes, only one of them puked. And that would be everyone's favorite Kentucky Wildcats.
yeah, I thought that. I guess and probably if I go back and look every year, I sort of talk myself into Kentucky because like in terms of the personnel that he brings in, Calipari, he gets the guys, I mean, there's no questioning the pedigree and the talent of the players he brings in. But boy, they don't it's been a while. It's been a while since he
Well,
got anything done. And I've kind of
yeah.
felt the same way about Brad Underwood up until this year, is that like come crunch time, the play on the floor hasn't really been what you want. They look like they just sort of show up and expect to win. And I think John Calipari's coaching style is very much to just like throw the athletes out there and kind of do a Hail Mary and hope for the best. And it hasn't worked out too well for him.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, and I don't remember who I was hearing as a talking head or who I read something as a on Twitter or something, but it was someone that's usually pretty level headed, and they just said, this Kentucky team, they're young, but they're built. They got all the pieces. They're built to do it. So I bought into that hype, and Whitey, that was a bad buy. I guess I should have stuck with Houston, hung my hat on Houston, but I didn't. Um, Creighton had to go double overtime last night. That was a good ball
Yeah.
game.
I was about 80% awake watching that one.
Yeah, I was too. Now here's a question I have for you.
Yeah.
I haven't seen, you know, every game, obviously.
No, me neither.
There's not been a single buzzer beater yet.
Is that right?
I don't think so.
Like to win you're talking to win a game, right? Yeah.
Win.
Yeah.
Now, Creighton hit a shot inside 5 seconds, send it in the second overtime, but
Yep. Yep.
there's been no buzzer beat. I don't think there's been a buzzer beater. I mean, I remember, gosh, one year, Arkansas, I mean, I'm dating myself, U.S. Reed was their guard. And there was like, it was either Saturday or Sunday, but on the Saturday, Sunday, there was like buzzer beater after buzzer beater. And I still remember him hitting one from just inside half court or so to win, about 30 some feet to win for Arkansas. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just, I mean, good ball games. I love, the story Oakland, how
Yeah.
old is that guy? Like 30? He's a DoorDash worker when he was at an NAIA school.
He looks
Man
like
shot
it.
8 2-pointers.
Yeah, I
He
saw
should
his
be in the 35 and old. That's that's Terry Brown in the 35 and older league. Only
I
shooting
saw
8 shots inside 3-point circle.
I saw his shot chart from this year, and the three pointers he makes in these games are just like, if you saw him, if you just never, if you weren't familiar at all and just saw him take one of those, you'd be like, what is this guy doing? This is ridiculous. But
Wasn't he what 44% shooter for the
yeah, I
season?
mean it's uncanny how good he was, and
His coach says he's the best 3-point shooter in the country, but I saw a little bit of that Duke game today. That kid from Duke was on fire in the first half. I
yeah,
know you don't like Duke as much as I don't like Duke, but the kid was making shots.
I'm I don't know. I can't I can't generate the same hate for Duke that I could when Krzyzewski was there. And I think North Carolina is kind of the same way. They're not as fun to root against anymore.
Without Roy,
No, I just those
you know
guys.
what? I didn't meet. I stood next to Roy Williams back. Remember when they used to do the down at the Savas Center, have the big high school shootout every year?
Mhm.
I was there and I came from the concession stand and going back to our seat. We had good seats. And in the doorway watching was Roy Williams. And I was shocked. He's maybe 5'8", maybe 5'9".
Yeah,
He's
not
not a
big.
very big guy. Now, I do want to tell you, somebody has sent me the link um, for, I guess, I don't know who hosted it, but they did an hour-long chat with an audience. It was in a gym um, with Krzyzewski and Roy Williams here just within March.
Mhm.
And I heard it was really, really good. I'm gonna have to watch it.
I wonder how much time they spent talking about how much they hate NIL and transfer portal, because that seems anytime you get an old coach talking about that stuff anymore, it seems like they get pretty wound up pretty quick.
Well, and yeah, and I agree. There's things I don't like about it, but it
Yeah.
now is what it is. We still need to get Tommy Michael on. I want to know how Eastern gets athletes.
I sat in on a panel with him few months ago, and that question came up a little bit, and it felt very much like a thing they're still trying to figure out if they can have a
Well, I
footprint
understand
or
that.
not.
I mean, I'm amazed that there can. I mean, it's. I would think it would be hard to be competitive when you don't have that to offer kids.
Did do you feel I feel like when I was younger, I don't remember, and this is separate issue, or maybe not an issue at all, but you see so many guys anymore, they take that graduate year and just go play somewhere else. Does
Yeah,
did that used to happen so much or not?
no, because you used to only get 4, and you had to, get medical red shirts and stuff. Like Mitch Arnold, I think was 6 years. I still remember Jerry Tarkanian talking to me and his brother Todd saying, I was afraid that NCAA was going to give that SOB another year
Because
because
I mean,
I think between he had a year at Illinois part of a year, and he was sick, and then transferred and got medical redshirt because he dealt with an injury and I think mono. And then I think he played 4 years at um, Fresno, but I want to say he was also had a year where he was out because of an injury, maybe. So
Yeah. I don't know.
Tarkanian was that was probably one of the highlights is just me and Todd Arnold talking to Jerry Tarkanian in a bar in a hotel in St. Louis in a coaching clinic.
I
It was hilarious.
just what got me thinking about it was, of course, that Southern Illinois just fired their coach,
Yeah.
and you had you got Lance Jones and Marcus Damask
Mm-hmm.
playing on Big Ten teams this year who
Mm-hmm.
had been at Southern Illinois, and you just think like, boy, what it how did it never work out there, with those guys, and I don't follow their.
I think the days of Bruce Weber taking a Southern Illinois to a Sweet 16. But you turn around last year, you had Florida Atlantic, but maybe they've got. I mean, I don't know.
Florida Atlantic looking
It's the
for a.
kids that I see of like I saw a thing today. Sky Clark, Illinois had him as a point guard. Then he left and transferred to Louisville. Now he's leaving Louisville. I think in the last 6 years he's been at 7 high schools or colleges.
Yeah, at a certain point it's got to be it's not you, it's me, like it's got
You
to be.
think?
And speaking of Florida Atlantic, I'm sure you saw that
Did Dusty May go to Michigan?
yeah, he's going to Michigan, 5 year
Really? I
contract.
hate to see that.
I didn't hate to see Juwan Howard. Well, I hated to see Juwan Howard leave in the sense that
Yeah,
that
I
pretty
hated to
much
see him leave.
guarantees a couple of wins, but it's it's probably Michigan's probably going to be in a better spot, you would think, but I don't know. We'll see how that works out. It took them like they were talking about that on the studio show during the NCAA broadcast last night. Like one of the guys was saying, I don't know how you could turn around in less than a day decide that you're going to leave this place and go to this place, without even visiting or anything like that. And it's just like, yeah, but it's Florida Atlantic to Michigan. Like the money alone probably
Well, the
makes that
thing
decision
is,
for
here's
you.
the deal, and that's another reason why I'd love to get oh Kevin Walsh on. He's Brad Underwood's agent, or he was Brad Underwood's agent. But just the workings of how, because it's usually my people talking to your people. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Agents are doing a lot of the background.
Well, surely some of those conversations were happening before Florida Atlantic
They
lost.
probably have between the agent
Some
and
intermediary, yes.
yeah, yeah. I would say that his agent and Michigan had been talking because he probably had a list of, hey, yeah, I'd like a Power Five school. He was a former manager at Indiana. Everyone's always had him on the short list to come back and save Indiana.
He's getting 3.75 million a year from Michigan. I wonder what he was making at Florida Atlantic. I'll bet it was not close to that.
But
So
it wasn't 3.75 million.
yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like sometimes it's just a business decision too, right? Like, I mean, it's
Hey,
um
and Whitey, that Grand Canyon, Alabama game's getting tight. And I just saw in the highlights an Alabama kid, one of their better players, had to leave the floor. I think he tweaked something.
yeah, I've got it
I
on.
guess it's 8 points.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I
Is
had
Grand Canyon, are they the Antelopes?
I don't know what they are. They're a diploma mill is what they are. Yeah, they're the antelopes.
See, another useless bit of information I knew. I'm I can do those things.
So again, you got what do you got? How many of your Elite Eight do you have left? Do you have them all besides Kentucky at this point?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 of my 8 Elite Eight still alive.
And I've got 7 of my 8 because I
Yeah, I
had
mean it's early,
so there's a
but we
lot of
both have
ways.
UConn winning it.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
way I see it, your only chance is um,
I need Houston to keep winning.
you need Houston to get to the. You got Houston and UConn in the championship, don't you?
Yeah, my philosophy is that as far as the Final Four goes, it's probably still going to be,
You're going chalkish.
yeah, I mean, I don't get too caught up in the early round trying to pick the 12s and fives. Like, I mean, you're going to have some of those, and I try to
Right.
pick some, but those teams typically don't keep winning. They don't keep winning for 3 weeks. So it's, but again, you and I were also talking. I watched less college basketball this year than I
Oh
ever
yeah, I have too.
because I've just been. Well, we talked last time we had a show. I just did 70 high school games. Like I'm busy on the weeknights. So and but I'll tell you what, you get these tournament games going, and as not emotionally invested as I've been in Illinois games most of the year, I'm still pacing and making my wife nervous, while they're going on. Of course, once they pulled away from Duquesne a little bit last night, I will admit that I sat down and got a little drowsy in the second half because I just didn't
They played
expect.
awfully well.
Yeah, I
They
didn't
played
expect.
awfully well.
Did not. Wasn't really looking for an ass beating, and that's what it turned into. So just nice for them to get back to Sweet 16. I had not really thought about it, but they haven't been there since they played in the championship game. This is the first time they've
First
been.
time Underwood's been there.
Yeah, this is the first time. It's yeah. I mean, like I said, it's the first time they've been there since Bruce Weber was there. So I was, when they were
Bruce Weber, who got knocked flat on his ass at a summer basketball camp by one Zach Wilson.
getting, I've
My
I
players decided to chase about an 8-year-old Zach around and him just running like someone's trying to kill him. And he turned and ran, and Weber was walking and looking the other way, and Zach flattened. I mean, dropped him.
I had some thought, and by the way, I thought Bruce Weber this year as an analyst, the studio guy for Big Ten Network, I've thought he's done a fine job.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I've heard Tom Crean in the ESPN studio shows,
Yeah.
and you know what? Kind of like him. Got to admit, like I think
Other than the fact he's related to the Harbaughs through marriage, I like him.
I found him obnoxious as a coach, especially because of where he coached.
Yeah.
But yeah, as an analyst, I really did found his work to be fairly. I wanted to hate it, and I just couldn't find it in me because
I
I'm a
see a
Red.
lot of Indiana fans kind of wish he was still at Indiana.
Well, they haven't done better since then. I will put it that way.
Well, no.
Um, I was kind of concerned that Illinois would end up playing Akron in the first round because that would have seating wise that would have kind of worked out um and I didn't want that. I just John Gross coaches at Akron, and I felt like that storyline would just be too juicy, and
Too
somehow
easy. Too easy.
somehow that would go wrong for Illinois. Akron lost pretty easily to Creighton in that first round, as I recall. So I don't
All
know.
right. What do we got next?
I finally did a high school baseball game on the radio this week,
There you go.
and that was Effingham. They beat Altamont. Um, what was the
Or
score?
nothing.
4-0. Effingham hasn't lost yet, and it's early. The season is 8 or 9 days
But
old.
yeah, they haven't started even playing conference doubleheaders yet.
No, but boy, Effingham's got some outfielders that can go get it. Okay. And the pitching's been pretty good too for them. They beat Marshall um, on March 19th. What would that have been? A Tuesday, I guess, maybe, or a Monday? I can't. Um, and a young man by the name of Carter Brady threw all 6 innings in that game. And then Caden Coberline went the distance against Altamont on Friday and beat them 4-0. And that's an Altamont team that's going to win its fair share of games. Pretty good lineup. But and then they beat Mount Vernon yesterday 6-2. Um, but my understanding was that they got some good catches out in the outfield against Mount Vernon also, and that was the thing that struck me the most about that Effingham team was that defensively they looked pretty sound for early in the season, and sometimes that's where it can I mean, really, pitching and defense are the last things to come around in my mind a lot of times because it's sloppy because a lot of times you haven't gotten on the field, you
Well,
know.
yeah, defense is the hardest thing because you can't really practice that in.
Yeah. But I thought that Effingham looked good. They do open conference play this weekend. They've got Mount Zion coming in on Saturday, and so we'll see how that goes. They got a couple more games between now and then. Got to go to Shelbyville. Let's see, Wednesday, and then go to Chatham Glenwood on Thursday. But I was just based on what I had seen, I was impressed with that. T-Town's off to a decent start baseball wise. You know, they're 4-2. They beat Fairfield on Friday, and that was Justin and Chris Fleener
Yep,
coaching against each
Battle
other.
of the Fleener brothers.
Yeah, you're used to seeing it. It's still weird to me that when it's not Effingham and T-Town, but they looked like they had a good one. And St. Anthony baseball is doing what you would expect them to do, and that's scoring a lot of runs. Aside from playing a 5-2 win over Mater Day, you look at their run totals 8, 14, 9, and 14. They tied Belleville Altoff. I guess they must have run out of, I don't know what exactly is going on there, but they tied them in their season opener, and since then they've won 4 games. They beat Mater Day.
That may have been down at that Edwardsville deal.
Could be.
No, you're talking St. Anthony. I don't know that St. Anthony goes down there.
Yeah, I don't know. I have not. I will admit I have not been able to watch pay intent attention just yet because of just work and life, busy kids and all that good stuff. But I mean, I think you go into the season, you knew St. Anthony was going to be good and they were going to score a shitload of runs, and so far they've done just that. And so, uh,
I just know anytime I see their information in one of Millie's stories that I just see Connor Repke has like 2 hits.
yeah, and I think the pitching, like I know that the Aiden Lauritzen had a good pitching performance. We
Yeah.
know that Brock Fearday is a good
They're
pitcher.
going
Like,
to be a pretty tough 1-2 combination.
yeah, and that was the thing was I think there was a little bit of question, like, who was going to be your number 2 pitcher, but Lauritzen in the fall looked really solid. And the thing, he's just one of those high school athletes that I think whatever you asked him to do, like you could probably put him on the soccer team and he'd be pretty good. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm?
You could probably put him on the track team and he'd find something that he was pretty good at. That's just what he's just gifted. He's the pretty much the antithesis of, like, say, Dustin White in high school. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, but he's pitched well. Um, they're going to win a bunch of games, but at the end of the day, that's a program that's in a place where, like, winning a regional is not what they're looking for. That's not.
Right. And I think Effingham, minus Josh McDevitt. I mean, the Nichols kid, I know who's going to Kaskaskia. They've got some arms. It's just do they have the depth? I
Yeah,
think T-Town's obviously going to be better.
yeah. Who did I see? Sophomore T Town pitched in that Fairfield game.
I
Got
didn't see. Oh, no, I didn't see it.
I got if you just give me a second, I'll just check Tyler Repking's Facebook page because
But I see a couple sophomores from T-Town got hit. I know that Davin Warman's been hitting the ball for them. I know Crate Kid does a lot of catching. They got a good young group coming.
yeah, yeah. It was Bories. Austin Bories pitched in that Fairfield
Okay.
game.
That may be. I don't remember if that's Art's son or not.
He's a sophomore. I don't think so.
I don't think it is. I just think he had a boy and a girl. I know he's got a girl play softball right now.
Yeah, his daughter's a freshman, and I think she's going to be a pretty good
I think
athlete.
his son graduated.
Yeah, I don't know that his son was as into, I don't
Right.
think he was as into stuff.
He
So
was he was probably as good athlete as his dad was. I knew I met Chance. I mean, he was a good kid.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you know what? There's a lot of other things you can do with your life besides
Oh yeah.
high school. But But yeah, so Austin Bories was the one who pitched that game. I saw Ryland Powell's got he pitched a little bit for Effingham in their win over Mount Vernon, and that was just interesting because I guess he hadn't played baseball. He's senior now, but he hadn't really gone out for baseball in a little while, and came out there and pitched for them, and that seemed like it was a fun moment. As
Yeah.
far as softball goes, Effingham's not played a lot yet. Um, they won their season opener. They played Vandalia and beat them 25-0. And then they lost to Salem and Casey. Uh, I don't know anything about Salem. I know Casey's Casey, and so you know that was a 5-4 game in 8 innings at Casey. Casey's always good, right? I mean, it's Casey Westfield softball. So early returns, some ups, some downs for Effingham, but I know they've got two very experienced pitchers in Armstrong and Altoff. So they're I think they're going to be fine this year. Probably just be and they've got really a lot of offense returning for a team that had a lot of success last year. Um, T Town, they're hovering around 500, 5 wins and 4 losses. I
And
don't
they're
know.
young too, from everything I've seen.
Well, and Crystal's daughter is apparently doing a lot of the pitching for them. That's
Yeah,
a
she's sophomore.
uh, it looks like she's doing a lot of the pitching for them. Um, you know, and sometimes young pitchers like it takes a little while, right? But she plays a lot of travel ball, so
Sure.
I don't. It's not like some huge growing pains for her. They've, I mean, according to their Max Preps page anyway, they played 4 times yesterday. I don't know where they were at, but that's how they played so many games. They must have been in a tournament yesterday. But basically, since they played their first game on March 12th, I mean, they've been busy,
I know, like Charleston beat them 3-2. I saw a score. I mean, they've been a lot of close games.
Charleston's a real good. I mean, Charleston's
Oh
coming off
no,
state, and they've got a lot of kids back from that team, so there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Um, they they've got uh, they've got Olney tomorrow and
Not gonna
Mount
play.
Ryan later on, or Mount Vernon later on in the week. They already played Mount.
Tomorrow's a rain out day, Whitey. That's what I'm just telling you now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
St. Anthony, they haven't lost yet. Um, I mean, they've been scoring a lot of runs too. I think for St. Anthony, kind of the question was like,
Who's gonna be your pitcher?
yeah, and so far, I think so far, they,
Kibler has been, hasn't he?
yeah, Sidney Kibler was always kind of their other kid that pitched some for them last year when Lucy didn't throw, Lucy Fearday. And then I've seen that Nancy Ruhal's done some pitching too, so
And I thought the Wormsley girl threw a little bit back in the day when she was
it could
younger.
be. And those are just the two names that I have seen, in their box scores. They haven't They haven't been pushed a lot so far. They beat Neoga, which Neoga's just getting a program back going. They had to take a year or two off with no numbers, but they scratched enough kids together to play this year. But St. Anthony beat them. They beat Olney pretty easily. They beat North Clay by 22. Didn't and they beat Mulberry Grove. This says I don't know. They've got Mulberry Grove on their Max Preps page, but it must have been yesterday. Um, Beat them 4-3 is what it says. So we'll see. That's not in the media yet, but that was scheduled for over the weekend. So don't have anything to go on there. But I guess the moral of the story is most of our local bat and ball teams are off to a pretty good start.
Yep, I think they'll do fine.
Track wise, the Illinois top times indoor championships happened at Illinois Wesleyan University on Friday, and we had some local girls do a good job there. I'm just kind of looking down the list. We'll start just with we'll start with winners, of course. Isabella
Well,
Cal.
and they tout this as the indoor state championship. I mean, not everybody's running indoor meets. You got to
Yeah, it's I mean, but it typically draws kids that want to, I mean,
Oh,
it
I agree with that.
yeah, I mean it brings some of the best. And Isabella Keller won the 2 mile. She won the 3,200 no sweat. 10:19 and 300ths. This says it was a PR for her. They've got the top 10 finishers in that race listed as having set a personal record in there. So that's obviously information they submit themselves, but she won by 31 seconds over second place. Like it wasn't close. So and Isabella got second in the mile by 2.5 seconds or 2.6 seconds.
Where was the girl that beat her from?
Father McGivney.
Okay.
So that's a junior from Father McGivney. Elena Ryback beat her. But again, 4:52:17 was the winning time, and Isabella came in at 4:54:84. So basically 2.5 seconds, not fairly tight. Aubrey Denning from St. Anthony got a win in the 800, and it was 2:20 and 800ths was the winning time.
Yeah.
She's about a half second better than the runner up, who was a senior from Kiwani. Okay. But Aubrey's another freshman. Okay. So she's
Pretty good combination with some of the kids that are other freshmen, because I don't think St. Anthony's sprinters, I haven't seen any of them running indoors yet. Plus, they got some junior high kids that are really, really good. So there could be a really, really strong team presence there coming, especially when you have those two distance runners.
yeah, and St. Anthony, as far as I could tell, didn't have anybody doing any
Sarah Geen placed in the pole vault.
well, no, I was just gonna say they didn't have anybody in the relays.
Right.
So, but you look at Denning
Not
and
Sarah
Keller,
Geen, that's her mom.
feels like a pretty good start to like a pretty good 4x8 time too, if you wanted to go that
Oh,
route.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Allison Geen is the pole vaulter. Her mom,
yep.
Sarah, is not a pole vaulter.
Yeah, Allison Geen got fourth in the pole vault. They do it in meters, 3.4
Yeah.
meters.
Hey, one
So,
of these days we're going to switch to meters. They told me that when I was a freshman in high school.
okay, so let me just that's 11 feet, 11.22 feet. So I don't know, 11 feet and an inch or two. Sorry, I don't sorry, I don't have anything better than that, but
Whitey, I'm watching while we're talking. Out of one eye, I'm watching this Alabama Grand Canyon game. You
uh-huh.
know, I'm having flashbacks to games at Community Park.
So you're saying that there's not a lot of defense being played?
Optional.
Yeah. Um, Still about a 9 or 8 point game though. I think Alabama might
Yeah, they
hang.
had it down to 4.
St. Anthony, I think that was it.
That
Uh,
was it. Those are the only kids I saw. T-Town had 5 kids go. I think they had a relay.
mhm. Caitlin Volling, first of all, uh, she got second in the 60-meter dash. It's a 60-meter dash there. She and I mean 7.78 seconds. She was 400ths of a second off so it was real close between her and the winner. Um, Elena Lester from Belleville Altoff.
And she ran the 200 also.
Yes, she got third in the 200, 26.8 seconds there. So she was 3/10 of a second off of the winning time. Leah Patterson from Tuscola, who also plays basketball for them, she just missed. She finished in second place by 500ths of a second there. So it was at the top real tight. And then that same Lester girl that won the 60-meter, she was fourth, and she was 200ths of a second behind Caitlin Balling. So those top four were all just
Bang, bang,
bunched
bang,
up.
bang, bang.
Yep. Uh, T-Town had how do you pronounce her? Ella Niels? Is that right?
Needless.
Neelis. Um, she was in the long jump and the triple jump. She got sixth in the long jump. Um, 5.17 meters. Let's see. That is
16 feet, I think.
yes, almost 17 feet, as a matter of
That's
fact.
pretty good. And is she a sophomore?
She's a junior.
Okay.
And then she got fourth in the triple jump, 10.45 meters. So
That's probably,
34 feet,
yeah.
34.3 feet, 34 feet and, 3 or 4 inches. So a couple of nice finishes for her. You said there was a relay.
I thought they had a relay there.
Oh, they did. They had a relay get 10th in the 4x200.
Okay.
That
That
was
would have been probably Valling, Bushy, Davidson, and
yeah, Addie Davidson, Hallie Bushu, Ella Nealis, and Caitlin Balling ran that one.
okay.
Uh, and then also there was one more name on here. Adrienne Custer. Uh, she got 12th in the 800, but it was a PR. It was her best time. So
Well, on track, I hate track meets early in the year because it's cold and windy and it's brutal, and you're more worried about you than the kids running. So
yeah. I also, 800 time on a short track indoors is, you might
could be slow because it's
could be,
curves.
could be slow. Could be slow because of turns. That's what I was getting at. 2:29 and 9/10 of a second for her.
Okay.
So, boys wise,
I don't think we had anybody there, did we?
looked like there was a couple of, yeah, nobody from those schools at least.
Well,
So,
that's all right. That's all we're worried about.
yep. So there you go. Giving a shout out to some of them. I mean, listen, you're gonna every time St. Anthony goes and runs a track meet, you're gonna see Isabella Keller's name in there. You're gonna she's going to win those events in most of the races that she runs this year, if not all of them. I mean,
It'd be interesting to see how well time wise she is compared to what her sister was.
yeah.
I mean, she was better in cross country,
Mm-hmm. And
but
again,
again, that could be conditions and a lot of factors.
and I want to say, I mean, I don't know. This doesn't apply in track as much as it does in some sports, saying, well, she's just a freshman. But sometimes those are when the best freshman, sophomore years are when some of the best times come in. So,
Right.
but, I mean, listen, I also know how those kids approach it and how hard they work to improve. Uh, so those times are going to get her. She's going
I
to,
think we're going to be blessed with some good track
there's
from
going to
the
be
air.
some names. There's going to be some names in Charleston in May
Yep.
at the state championships. So, we'll look forward to that. But I think we covered everything I wanted to set out to get done.
Probably could have spent more time on our brackets, how I'm doing so much better. Did we make a wager this year? I think
Since
it was
I'm
lunch. Didn't we
since
bet
I'm
lunch?
since I'm losing, I mean, I feel like I should say no. I don't care. I'll buy you lunch. That's fine.
Well, last year I was laying in a hospital bed, Whitey.
That's right. I forgot about that. That kind
Yeah, you were like, "Hey, you gonna turn in brackets?" I said, "Well, the nurse won't let me fill one out."
of yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, there's still
Oh,
there's still time for me to pull it out.
I
Okay.
got one. Oh, I know. Like I said, Houston's a big factor. I got
Yep.
one thing to add, Whitey.
Yeah.
Took the old Hall of Famer and Morgan Wilson out today, and we found about 50 mushrooms.
You know what? I might have seen something. You know, we talked about social media earlier on in this show, but one thing I don't mind seeing on social media is people sharing their mushroom hauls, and me wondering how I just never found the spot. One of the worst things that's ever happened in my life, Mike, which probably tells you that I've led a pretty good existence on this planet. But we had a neighbor when I was a kid who used to go out and just find garbage bags full of mushrooms. And they moved. They left town. Okay. And before they left, we said, okay, where was your spot? Okay. Where did you go find all these? And they told us, and we never found any there. So I don't know if my dad and I just aren't worth a shit at finding mushrooms, or if this guy pulled our leg one last time before he left town.
Do you still know him?
Um, no, they moved to Florida and they were older. I'm gonna say there's probably a pretty good chance they're no longer with us, but I'm not sure about that. Um, yeah, I don't know. Just I could think of one time in my whole life when we went out and found enough mushrooms to even be worth cooking them up. But boy,
We're
that
gonna
was a
have
good
some for
night.
supper tomorrow night. I
Yeah,
mean,
that was a good night.
all right. Well, we better wrap it up. I need
Yep.
to, it's, you know,
More basketball to watch. Unfortunately, Northwestern is getting
well, yeah, Connecticut's gonna put the whammy to them.
well, and you saw Northwestern's like they're down to like having a walk on the bench, like actually
Yeah,
seeing minutes like in the rotation because they're
yeah.
so
I
hurt.
was just glad Boo Booey came back to life and they won that first round game.
Yeah, no, that was a fun one to watch. That was a great finish for them. And speaking of not being able to find it in myself to root for those guys with that Duke pedigree, like I have to kind of grudgingly admit that Chris Collins is doing a really nice job there in Northwestern.
I
So,
think so.
yeah.
And Whitey, I'm just gonna tell you, if you enjoy watching ping pong matches, you need to watch this Grand Canyon, Alabama game, buddy.
Well, once we sign off, I'll watch the last 8.5 minutes of
It's
it.
like this.
Yeah, it's getting tighter too. 6 point game now.
Four.
Well, it's going to be six in just a second. You got it at 50-46.
Yeah,
It's going to be 52-46. I'm
I
a
don't
little
blame
ahead
you,
of you.
buddy.
All right. Hey, we'll I don't know how often we'll do these in the spring, but we'll keep
We'll
people
see. We're not
up
gonna
to
do
date.
anything next weekend. We're gonna enjoy Easter with our families.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my daughter's we're not only is it Easter, but she's having
I
confirmation.
know. I've been told we are getting tickets to come watch her.
Oh, yeah, well that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, well, okay, so Easter Sunday she's also getting confirmed in our church. And then
Yeah, we're not coming Easter Sunday to watch her.
the following weekend, yeah, she's going to be Mrs. Trunchbull. And
That's when we're coming. The following weekend, my daughter says we have to go watch her, and I have to go.
well, I have to too, Mike.
Well, you've got a little more vested interest than I do.
They've been working hard. Actually, we took them. We took dinner to the cast. That's what I was doing this afternoon. That had to
Boy.
clean up from after before we could record. We took food to all the cast members so they could eat during rehearsals. So
Well, one thing I do know, Mac will not have trouble talking her lines.
well, she's yeah. I mean, I guess the first time they practiced on stage, she got a little clammed up, but I told her I was like, let's be honest. There's nothing
Just
you like
pretend she's
more.
sitting with me or Morgan Wilson. She'll have no troubles.
Yeah, there's nothing she likes more than talking at people. Okay, so she'll be fine. So yeah, especially if you like Roald Dahl, if you like Matilda, come to Neoga in 2 weekends: Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
All
Sunday.
right. Well,
Um,
I'm told I have to come. So
well, you'll have to let me know. And
people will be looking at me like, what are you doing
well, I hope there'll be a lot of people there, and you'll just blend in with the crowd. But we'll see.
here? Well,
All right, that's
I hope
enough.
so.
We'll talk when we talk. Just the best way to find out when we do another show is to just subscribe on YouTube, and you'll see it the minute we put a new one out there.
We're
Which will
getting close to 200, Whitey.
yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. All right, Mike. We'll talk to you later.
See you, bud.
See ya.